entrepreneurs, and professionals of Tampa Bay. Welcome to your hour for getting the information, the tools, and the connections for elevating your business. Welcome to Getting the Edge with Kelly Wilson. And here's your host, Kelly Wilson.
Welcome to Getting the Edge. I'm your host, Kelly Wilson. Thank you so much for being with us today. Getting the Edge is brought to you by Edge Media Hub, a business community and media solutions, and now close to almost 8 years. It's a wonderful opportunity. It's an hour-long show, well, just about an hour, where we have an opportunity to talk with amazing business owners, community leaders right here from Tampa Bay, and they share their story. Getting the Edge has grown immensely over the years, and it's just a great opportunity for again, to share your story. And I'm such a firm believer that we can learn so much from each other. And that is what our Edge platforms are all designed for, to share stories and learn and grow together. For more information on Edge Media Hub, please check out edgemediahub.com. You can even email us, info@edgemediahub.com, for additional details. Total access for the business community begins with our annual partnerships. And we've got multiple partnerships for small business, corporate, for your solo entrepreneurs, a little bit for everyone, for everyone's budget. So check out more details again on our website. You can watch all of our previous shows from over the past few years. I think we have over 70 now on our Edge website. A lot of great information. So much information. So definitely check it out. You can even fast forward, move around, go to the whatever part of the show you would like to go to. Also, make sure you subscribe or stay up to date with our Edge Business magazines. We're currently in production for our second annual Celebration of Women, which will launch right about mid-May. We have 10 amazing change maker women leaders that are involved in. It's been so inspiring for me to just learn and have the opportunity to talk with these women. It's just unreal. So definitely keep your ears open for our some updates that are coming on the second annual Celebration of Women. We are looking forward to our first launch celebration. We're going to wait till September, just as we kind of get through the summer a little more. But we are planning for a double launch celebration, which will hold our women's issue and the honorees, as well as our real estate focus issue for the fall. So we're looking for a double launch and really excited to bring the community back together for that again, September 29th. So we'll be talking a little bit more about that. We also have our first annual leadership conference to look forward to at late October. Just a lot of great things going on. So also too, our online resource library is full of information. We're building content. In fact, working with USF with some different research projects to add even more content to our online database. So again, for more information or any details, just check out the website. So thank you so much for being with us. I am so excited today. One of my favorite people, our annual partners, and actually, maybe because you're sitting here, I forgot to say it, but thank you so much to our platinum partners of Edge, Alltrust Insurance, Pilot Bank, USF Muma of College of Business, and of course, Visit Tampa Bay. How could I forget that part, especially with one of you sitting here? Anyway, I'm so excited. Santiago, Corrada, President and CEO of Visit Tampa Bay. Thank you. Hi.
Hey. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I mean, it's been so long since we've been together, and you do so many good things for us. You're highlighting the positive, you're highlighting what's good about our community. So thank you for that, because we don't get enough of that. So really appreciate your efforts to always highlight what's great about us.
Thank you. And that is our platforms are all about the positive. Right. There's enough, and there's other channels out there for anything else you want to find. If you want to be inspired and right. Know the best about Tampa Bay and the people that are part of it, this is where you go. It's
your show and your magazine and everything you do in the community, so thank you for that. We need more of that.
Thank you so much. Well, and your support, if it's from the leaders like yourself that we're able to be here.
Yeah,
and
thank you.
You are a great representative of our Tampa Bay area. I think we all can claim you as that.
It's such a great place, right? I mean, the people here are just incredible. So my job is to sell this destination to the world and have people love to come here or even move here. And I can tell you, at first it was a little bit difficult because our identity was really not that pervasive out there. But
And
now
you were coming from Miami too, so
so a little bit different, right? You know, we sometimes got lost in the shadow of Miami or Orlando or some of the bigger American cities, but not anymore. And so just this great place to not just visit, but make it your home and join the great people here. So not a hard job anymore because
No.
it's such a fantastic place. And now we really have that identity that people are recognizing.
and the Super Bowl it hasn't hurt us either, right?
Well, you know, a fifth Super Bowl, you know, the International Indian Film Awards, all these big events, and you know, pretty soon here, another big event for us. So yeah, sure. I mean, those events help with that media exposure and building that resume of, you know, just being seen by the world, right?
It's been fun as I look back over the last, I guess for the last 5 or 6 years, talking with Mayor Buckhorn when we first launched the magazine piece in 2015. And just hearing at that point he had just been reelected to a second term, and just, you know, hearing his views and opinions and ideas for the city. And then, you know, having the opportunity to sit down with Jane Castor, our current mayor, for the first annual celebration of women, and just kind of hearing how she wanted to take over the reins. And then I've had the opportunity to sit with Pam Iorio recently, and oh my goodness, I don't know, we've got a power picture on my Facebook page, and we're bumping fists, and I feel like it's that Wonder Twin powers deactivate from like the Superman cartoon, but you know, she is phenomenal. And you talked about Pam, I remember early on, because
Sure. I'm here because of Pam.
Exactly.
And you know, we've been so very, very fortunate to have great mayors. I mean, even going beyond the mayors you've mentioned, you know, all had their time in history to make a difference. And I think they all took advantage of making that difference. So, I mean, a superstar slate of mayors, and I'm very fortunate to have met many of them and have interacted with many of them. And what was equal about all of them was their love for this city and making it a better place than how they found it. So, you know, it's carried on and carried on and carried on. And that doesn't happen in a lot of American cities. You know, some American cities go like this and like this and like this. You know, we've been pretty steady with great leadership, and that's the reason why we are where we are.
Genuine leadership. I think. I mean, I think that's the feeling that you get from so many of these individuals and others that play, like yourself, that key roles in representing Tampa, or, you know, we're pretty lucky.
We're really, really lucky. I mean, we really come together to make great things happen for this city, for this county. And I think it's that relationship, that teamwork, that collaboration. A lot of egos get checked at the door, and it's a collaborative, good thing, not for any one person. So I think that really stands out, you know, amongst other cities I've seen, where, you know, there are some big personalities in the room. You know, here in Tampa, Hillsborough County, people work together for the common good. And I think that's really important. And I think that's important for the people who live here to realize it's not like that everywhere.
Right. And I don't think we realize, too, how long some of these projects have been in the works, which is why I mentioned Pam. And Pam had even mentioned that, you know, even the Riverwalk had been in the talks, like, prior to that. I had, again, a wonderful opportunity of sitting down with Rhea Law recently. Rhea is
another great
phenomenal.
Leader in our
Yes, she was actually our second cover. She followed Buckhorn, so it was great to include her now in the second annual celebration and kind of bring her back, and her and Pam specifically, because I'm highlighting their next chapters in a sense. But Rhea was telling me recently she was at touring Midtown, the development near 275 in Del Mabry. But she was going to meet the guy behind it, and they were going to tour the property. But she, you know, said we met originally and started talking about this 30 years ago.
That's right.
And, you know, so we don't think about all of the work and behind the scenes, and when things like, you know, are you know, seeds are planted. We don't know how, you know.
It's interesting because even with big events, they're years in the making. I mean, you know, we bid on the last Super Bowl we just were awarded in 2016. So think about that. We had it in 2021, and we bid on it in 2016. So even with events and projects like you've mentioned, the Riverwalk or Midtown or Water Street, or things that have happened at our attractions at the airport, they're years and years in the making. They don't happen overnight, and it takes a lot of hard work behind the scenes. We always celebrate the ribbon cutting, but all of the work that happened to get there, we normally don't ever see.
And all the years and the people involved in some of
That's
these
right.
projects
That's
that aren't
right.
necessarily present at any ribbon
That's
cuttings, but there's
exactly.
just so many people behind the scenes. And just to follow up, and as we're talking, before we move on, as we're talking about Pam, tell us the story a little bit just about how you came to Tampa, because it involves Pam.
Yeah, it does. You know, I had been with the Miami-Dade County public school system for
Principal.
over
Yeah,
17 years. You know,
yeah.
I was a middle school principal. I was a high school principal, and then I joined another great mayor in Miami to run the Parks and Rec department for the city of Miami. And Pam had just become mayor, and Pam was really great at bringing diverse points of view together.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, people from Tampa, Hillsborough County, but people from other parts of the country that may have experienced different things.
Mm-hmm.
And she was reorganizing, the city government, and she was looking for a neighborhood services administrator that would report to her, but would have a number of departments that really impacted neighborhoods working closer together. You break down the silos and you get departments to really collaborate and cooperate and get things done. And so I was very, very fortunate to get a call from the new mayor in Tampa and join that team. I served with her 7 out of her 8 years and learned so much.
Good.
I mean, was exposed to so many things about city government here, really knowing where all the neighborhoods were, all the great services that the city was providing, the great people that work for the city of Tampa, and really getting to know government very, very well. When you work for a mayor, you're involved with city council members and the county administrator and county commissioners, and even, your legislative delegation in Tallahassee. So really it was this great awakening for me, because I'd been in Miami 27 years and had just arrived here. So just very, very grateful and very fortunate that I received that call to come join that team, because she put together an incredible team. And then I was able to stay with Mayor Buckhorn for a few years as his chief of staff and see what he was trying to do as far as, following her legacy and make his own, and making his own legacy, right? Which he certainly did. So, just, very, very grateful. You're always grateful that someone takes a chance with you, that you're given that opportunity. And you just never know, who's watching and who's going to call on you because of the way you conduct yourself and the way you carry yourself. And
you don't know who you're inspiring. Because we've talked about that too.
Right. You just never know.
During your principal years where you've had students.
I must have been a really fun principal. Probably, too easy, because I get invited to all the class reunions. So now I'm going to, 20 and 30-year class reunions. What principal gets invited to class reunions, right? So it must have been a lot of fun to be around.
I think you would have been. Now, I can see you being serious when needed, and you don't play. Like as long as we get everything done and do what we need to do, and we're all good to one another, then we can have a good time.
That's what it's all about, right? You can have a ton of education, you can be wealthy, but some things you can't buy. Right? And some of those early lessons that you learn in life, treating others the way you want to be treated, you're not entitled to anything. There aren't any shortcuts. You work hard for what you deserve. I think that's really at the bottom of what it's all about. And so often, individuals feel entitled.
Yeah, because that was more something when we were growing, those were the principles or like the foundation. Right. And not that I was actually that was pounded in by my parents. I think it was just known. Like that was just what was expected.
Right. I mean, if you think about it, it's so simple, right? I mean, you don't have to go to school to learn. You treat people the way you want to be treated. And, if you want to be treated the right way, you're going to treat others the same way. And so I think those things, and, hard work, I think so often, again, some individuals feel they're entitled, or they should take a shortcut, or they should be given a shortcut. And at the end of the day, that's not your worth. You don't feel like you really, really earned it. I mean, some people do, but, for the most part.
And I think some people may go through life not ever feeling like they truly earned anything. I mean, I believe that, those life lessons come from those difficult times in our life where we can really take and learn and grow. If things are continuously just handed to us, how do we ever truly know the difference?
It's about growing as a person.
Right. I mean, exactly. That's ultimately what it's about.
I mean, all I have now to really talk about is the experience and the wisdom that I've gained throughout life. Right. I mean, that's really what you try to share.
Because at the end of the, it's either that or money, right? Because at the end of the day, what else do you have? You have your brain, or I mean, how you.
And I know a lot of wealthy. Well, I'm not going to put it that way, but some wealthy people. You can't buy everything. I'm just going to leave it at that. You can't 100%. Buy everything. You can't buy health. You can't buy, certain, personality features.
Happiness.
Yeah, exactly.
Contentment, peace of mind.
Exactly.
Really, all of that comes from within.
Right.
And unfortunately, so many people search outside for everything, and instead of facing.
You got to do it. You got to look in the mirror.
It goes back to that Michael Jackson song, "Man in the Mirror."
You got to look in the mirror.
It truly is until you if you want to make a change.
Start with yourself.
Yeah, most definitely. I think as that is something that it's unfortunate that more of the millennial generation has kind of come up to the, to this more, they've grown into more of an entitlement. Maybe, hopefully maybe with the pandemic and different things that have happened that does shift some.
Every generation, I think sometimes gets pigeonholed, right? And, I think the millennial generation, since we're bringing, multifaceted generation, and again, I think even before that generation, there was some sense of entitlement. But, I've also seen some millennials that are extremely creative and hardworking. And
that are willing to put the time in.
And now they're not millennials anymore.
Right.
I mean, now they're older. I mean, and so they're contributing in a different way. But, I think technology has had a lot to do with also people's perspectives and how they consider, career advancement and doing the work. So I think technology has made it quite easy, and we've seen it. I mean, we just locked down and everyone went virtual, and we're proving that some things can be done that way, other things not so easily done that way. So I think generationally with the technology, I was growing up, there were no smartphones, there were no cell phones, there were 3 television channels, there wasn't streaming, and I think now, you kind of get complacent because you have 100 million channels to look at, and, now I can't settle on any of them. Before I only had 3 to pick from. Right. Now there's so many, I don't know what to look at.
Now you're overwhelmed with choices, right?
It's like, check, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting, it does seem like, I remember when I first started out in real estate, in my middle 20s, I could show 50 homes and never make a dime. Obviously, I mean, but you put the time in order, but as I talk with business owners all day long, we all are challenged with good, employees and those that will, dependable and do the work. And so it.
And I think finding the 100% package in anything is really hard, right? It's like finding a needle in a haystack. I think with organizations and businesses and even people, there's so much that is great and so much you have to work towards. So, you never find the 100% package. It's 80 and 20. And
that's like everything in life, though, right?
Right. And you highlight the 80% and you work on the 20%, whether it's people or organizations. So you really, you can't walk into anything or into any relationship expecting, 100% perfection, because it's not there.
Expectations.
The expectations, yeah. And so often, we're like, wow. And it's like, no, but there's so many good things either about that organization or about that person that I can work with and really become successful at. So, I've stories of people that were phenomenal, but you couldn't ask them to write a report for you. But they were phenomenal. And so do I worry so much about the report, or do I worry about the performance and they're phenomenal?
That'd be more just focusing on their strengths then, right?
Focusing on the strengths.
Right, focus on their strengths, and then just know that you need the other people for where they may not be as strong. Right.
That's exactly right. And balancing that is what is leadership and being successful, right?
And knowing how to put the team together and knowing where their strengths are and being able to identify those and pulling out the best in people.
Diagnosis.
Yeah.
If we're going to use a medical term, you got to diagnose the situation and then come up with a remedy. And I think so often people want to rush to the remedy before they do the diagnosis, and they miss something.
Well, and I think again, back so many years ago, you didn't. I remember my ex-husband saying, "You're not supposed to like what you do. You just have a job. You're just supposed to do a job." And man, we would battle because I believed in, this following passions, and there was so much more, more out there. But he was raised differently, and but that mentality did exist back. I'm late 40s now, but that mentality did. But if you think about it, we talk about as leaders being able to identify people's strengths and weaknesses, right? and being able to put them in the right places.
That's right.
So if we were so hung up still on way long ago, right, where it didn't matter, then
Right.
you would have screwed up offices all day long because nobody would be working in the place that they were most effective.
That's exactly right. That's
Which is
exactly
probably
right.
what happened in most of those corporate worlds, right,
Well,
in the 70s,
you have to
80s.
go back and examine why they failed, right?
Right.
And why some were very successful. And I think it's that focus on the strengths. And also trying to build on the weaknesses or the opportunities. You know, there are always challenges with any one of us. You know, we do the best we can, I think, with what we have, and we try to get better. And some people can get better, and others you just continue to work on that strength and use that strength to your advantage.
And so, question, just think about Miami again, and I have a friend that lives there. I visit often, and I used to really like it because it was Miami-ish, right? Well, she's actually in Fort Lauderdale, and we're older now. We don't go anywhere or do anything. We're kind of homebound. We just, we enjoy each other's company. It's like family. But do you feel, because Miami, I guess it seems bigger. I don't know. But it doesn't seem like, and I don't mean this to be in a negative way, so I don't want to set you up to answer anything. But is everybody? Tampa is unique, where I feel like we all come together, we all work together, and we're there.
Yeah.
Is it? I can't see it that way there.
Yeah, I tell you what I thought was the biggest difference. I thought there were a lot of people in Tampa that were natives, that had a lot of pride in living in Tampa and being a Tampanian, if you could use that word, generations and generations and generations back. And I think Miami, that part of the population in Miami was always shrinking, and you had newcomers and newcomers and newcomers and newcomers, and you have this mixture of a number of different Latin American countries, and not every Latin American country is the same. And so, if you're from Colombia, you have, your culture. And if you come from Peru, or if you come from Cuba, or if you come from, you name the country. And so you have, this mixing pot of different cultures.
That don't necessarily understand one another.
And newcomers.
Right.
And I think here you have, what I found immediately was this welcoming. Tampa was about welcoming people. And sometimes in Miami, you're trying to figure out where you fit. Here you fit. You just fit. It doesn't matter what part of Tampa you go to, you kind of fit. And that's kind of hard to do in Miami. Maybe it's because it had so many people get there so fast and it grew so fast. I mean, I moved there in 1977, and by the mid to late 80s, it was a very different place. And I think it was that influx of so many people from so many different places. And it's interesting, it has this whole East Coast personality, and Tampa has more of a Midwest personality. So if you travel the country and you know what New York and New Jersey feels like, and then maybe you visit Ohio or Michigan and you know how that feels like, that's the two personalities. I mean, you have really split personality in Florida.
That really well, too, because I'd never really thought of it from that perspective. And then you do have a lot of people from different cultures, and they don't necessarily understand one another and don't necessarily want to try to understand one another. I mean, they're okay in their own worlds and their own mindsets, and that's okay, too.
Every city in America has its own thing going on, right? And Miami has been that for a long time now. I mean, I want to say from probably the early 70s through today, a big influx. But then again, it creates other quality of life issues. When you go to a Publix and you have to stand behind 40 people to pay, or your child is in a classroom with 50 children, or you make a reservation to a restaurant and you show up and you still have an hour's wait, that's not very pleasant to deal with, as far as your everyday. So I think Tampa has grown, Hillsborough County has grown, I think, in the right ways, because you don't ever feel all that much like that.
No, you do. Well, it's just interesting because when I'm there, people are honking at you. They're yelling through the window. It's
fast. It's fast.
Right, and here, and if you're not driving 90 on 95,
it's very fast. I mean, you almost feel your blood pressure and your temperature, body temperature change once you get in the Palm Beaches. If you're going down the East Coast and you hit the Palm Beaches and then the Fort Lauderdale area and then Miami, things really ramp up. They really do.
It's a couple people that I've talked to over the years too, when that have been out of towners that have then moved to Tampa to try to create a business. And a few of them have expressed the difficulty of kind of getting into the business community, being an outsider or being from somewhere else. And I can see that, so because we are a tight-knit community but I think we're all about relationships. And if you're not transactional and if you're somewhat transparent,
I think you get out of it what you put into it.
Yeah.
And I've also seen a lot of young entrepreneurs do very well here.
Yeah.
And this was the first place that they wanted to stand up a business. So I've also seen my fair share of that, having worked in the city for almost a decade, that we have had a lot of young people come and be very successful here, and either they came back because they were here at some point, and that's the other thing we find, if you're here and then you decide you want to go somewhere else, it's usually a U-turn. You want to come back. You're coming back. And so I can tell you.
It's a matter of time.
It is a matter of time. It is a matter of time. This is a great place to live.
Yeah. It is, just in the 20-some years I've been here and seeing just all the development and again, the people and it is a great feeling as we get to a point in our lives where you take some type of ownership in a sense for the community you live in. And
you sure do. Look at you. I mean, you take pride and you take ownership and you feel like you belong. And I think that's the thing.
Yeah.
You feel like you belong. There's a place for you here.
It took me a while to feel that way, but I think we all get to the point where
I think you do.
when you stay course, and even those that might be apprehensive, eventually you win them over because you're long-standing, longevity, you're not going anywhere, and they realize they might as well just like you because you're here to stay. Right?
We like people here. Interesting. I came out of Miami and I was welcomed right away. And my ideas, I'd often say, we may not want to do that because I've seen that not work somewhere else, or we should probably do that because I think that's had some success in the past. So my ideas were welcomed. I was welcomed. Now, even though I wasn't born here, I feel more of a connection to Tampa than any other place I've ever lived. And I'll tell you, in this job, my job is to sell this destination to all parts of the U.S., but other parts of the world. And when I'm in those places, I can't wait to come back. You could be in Paris, and I want to get back to Tampa. You could be in London, you can be in Miami or LA or New York, and it's like, when do I get back home to Tampa? And I never felt that way before.
That's a great feeling to have.
I never felt like that.
Yeah, that's good. That means you're where you're supposed to be, I think. Yeah. I'm very happy that you contribute to each of our magazine issues, and I was excited about this one, and I won't give away too much, but we recap some of the Super Bowl and some of the things, but it was interesting too, as I was reading through that, was just talking about some of the promotional things you were doing outside of Tampa Bay, obviously because at that time we were being watched globally.
Right.
So what was your, strategic plans with that?
With us, it's always about capitalizing on the moment. Mm-hmm. And the fact that,
that's all we have, right?
Yeah, you have that moment, and it's your time in the spotlight, right? It's your time to shine. And the fact that we had so many different things going on around this Super Bowl, right? Large-scale live event during a pandemic is tough enough, right? I mean, it was really the biggest event put on since the beginning of the pandemic, March of 2020. And all the work that went on, and so many people to give credit to, whether it's the city government, the county government, our sports commission, our host committee, Visit Tampa Bay. I mean, so many, the airport. I mean, you'll forget somebody.
All the people behind the scenes.
But all the people that put it on, and then to be able to highlight that you're able to do it, following protocols and procedures and being safe. I've heard from other destinations, thank you for setting an example because we want to be able to get back to doing those things. And please keep talking about safety and health because, you weren't doing it irresponsibly. So the fact that, we could highlight that, and there was a lot of attention around that, right? I mean, the media, not only the domestic media, but the international media, and they weren't here, but they were using technology, to interview us, to talk to us. And then, you
were all over the place, even like Good Morning America. And,
the attention was phenomenal. I mean, every live national broadcast.
Luckily, you come to life in front of the camera.
I don't know about that,
Oh,
but
for sure.
well, when you're talking about something great, it's
Yeah.
kind of easy. It's easy to
You
get
light
the
up.
words right. And then what was really then an added bonus was getting our hometown team
Absolutely.
to play in the
Wow.
Super Bowl, first time in the history of the Super Bowl. So that added another dimension of interest,
Right.
because you had this interest. How are you guys going to do a Super Bowl during a pandemic? And then, wow, now you have your hometown team. How does that affect things? Because in our business, it's always about how many people do you bring to the destination. And if you have two teams that are not from here, you have two sets of fans that are coming
I see,
from
right.
different parts of the country. Well, in this case, we have a pandemic, so you have some limitations. And then you have your hometown team, which really
Actually, it
appeals.
worked- right.
It worked
It worked,
perfectly.
right.
I mean, our locals
Great
stepped
scenario.
up. Oh, my gosh. This Super Bowl, as far as, the hotel numbers, performed better than the last Super Bowl we had, and did better than last year that weekend, which was pre-pandemic. So it was pretty amazing to see 92% hotel occupancy during this Super Bowl, and it was 89% the last time we hosted a Super Bowl.
Really?
So, phenomenal numbers, and I think, we had more drive-in fans than we expected. I think our locals took advantage of experiencing a Super Bowl like an outsider and staying in a hotel and enjoying all the
Yeah.
cool
We
things.
probably have a lot more hotels too this year than we did.
And way more hotels. So
Right,
even
right.
that is added.
And
I
we
mean,
still had a higher.
Still had
92
higher.
Right, and with all the new rooms.
I mean,
Wow,
several
wow.
thousand more rooms to fill.
Wow,
Because,
yeah.
whenever you add inventory, you have the responsibility of filling that inventory.
Right.
So, if you've added several thousand rooms, you got to fill them now. And so for this Super Bowl to perform as well as it did under, again, some variables that we'd never dealt with before. We've had other things, right? We had a Super Bowl during an economic situation, the
What was that,
prior
early
one.
2000?
Yeah, and then we had one during the Gulf War. The Gulf War had just happened. And so this was another one under some unusual circumstance, right? We have the unusual Super Bowls. But, I mean, it did so very, very well. And the fact then that
Yeah,
the
Tom Brady
Buccaneers...
might have helped a little.
So I'll tell you a funny story about Tom Brady and him coming to Tampa. So, we market in Boston a lot, right? We market to other areas of the country where we feel people are going to want to visit. And Boston is an area we really hit hard. And they have these solar recycling machines that are kind of garbage cans, but they're not, right? They're on every street corner, and we wrap those with Visit Tampa Bay images. And
really?
yeah, and we get pictures sent to us from people from Tampa that are visiting to take pictures of these things. And when Tom Brady signed with the Bucs, somebody sent us this little nastygram saying it must be the garbage cans that convinced him to move to Tampa. Those images on the
love
garbage.
it.
So
That's
it was
funny.
really spectacular that Mr. Brady came to play for the
The
Buccaneers.
timing,
and-
I think, it helped the morale of the Tampanians so much because we needed it. It really,
I mean, if there was any medicine, our sports teams really provided it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the Rays in the World Series, the Lightning winning the Stanley Cup, the Rowdies doing so well, right before the pandemic, and then obviously the Buccaneers winning the Super Bowl during the pandemic. If you people rally around sports and winning. Winning is contagious. So I think people really felt good about their hometown with all of these athletes performing under very dire circumstances. I mean, they're leaving their families, they're having to travel, they're having to expose themselves, in some cases to the virus, and I think they made us so proud. I mean, just incredible.
absolutely. And I'm sure there were quite a few eyes on us that they're expecting some, as they call it, super spreader type things
There were.
after that.
There were a lot of stories about that, and it didn't happen.
Right, and it
didn't
didn't
happen.
And, I don't know if it's because, they have sets because of some of the heat, or Florida or some of the different opportunities we might abandon.
I have to tell you, I got to firsthand see a lot of the NFL sanctioned events. Those are very controlled. There were temperature checks, there was social distancing, there was required mask wear. So any of the big NFL events, including the game, there were regulations and procedures and protocols in place to make sure those were safe. Obviously you can't control everybody at the boat parade, but all
Right.
those other events leading up to the NFL experience out at Julian B. Lane Riverfront Park, all the stuff in the parks, all of those were well contained.
And well organized.
Well
It seemed,
organized.
with appointments and,
That's
just
right.
the way you could schedule and
That's
do
right.
things. And yeah,
That's
it
right.
just seemed
Very well done.
a lot of people coming together and making
Very well
it
done.
a very successful
Yeah,
event.
it was, hats off to the NFL, that team, and to our hometown team. I mean, for really working together. And that's, years and years of a relationship. This was our 5th Super Bowl. So we're not strangers to each other, and I think when you have those relationships over time, I mean, we're seeing so many conventions relocating to Tampa this year from other affected parts of the country, and it's because of prior relationships with those event planners or those organizations. Maybe in the past it was too big for us, right? And we couldn't accommodate it. Our accommodations are what they are, but we had that relationship. We could say, hey, if you're having an issue having your event this year in some other city and you're not going to have all of your attendees and it's going to be small, well, you look at us. And I think that's really helped. I mean, we've got probably a dozen conventions coming this year that have relocated from New York, from DC, from Chicago, from LA, from all over the place because we're able to accommodate them. And obviously we've had some success with putting on some safe events.
Yes, thankfully.
Right.
And I try not to be totally aware of what's going on outside because, I keep blinders on in a sense, and I tap into the real world occasionally. But, to stay optimistic and positive, I limit the outside stuff that comes in. But, it's just interesting. Over the year, I just had a thought of that, and I totally forgot what I was going to say now. But it was something about, it'll come back to me in a minute. All right. Damn it, I hate when that happens. I had a good point.
It'll come back to you.
It will.
Was it about conventions or relationships
Yes.
or?
Yeah.
Well,
Sometimes if I wait a minute, it comes back, but I don't want to pause
What's really
too long.
interesting is, we've had a lot of virtual stuff now, right?
Yeah.
But in our industry, it's still really about face-to-face. Yes, you can do some things through Zoom and through email and through text and all that. But really, we're salespeople and marketers, and we have to be in the moment and we have to be present. And we really, even when the pandemic hit, and again, my crystal ball was horrible because I thought, we've been through so many things, and they come and they go, and this will come and go. It'll be 3 months and we'll be done. And, I was wrong. I mean, I don't have any shame in admitting that I was wrong. But we had to kind of shut down our in-office operation in March. But we went home and worked full-time. We had the capacity, the technology to be able to take it home and work full-time from home. And, we never stopped being front of mind for people. Even though maybe we weren't telling you to come and visit, we were saying, hey, remember us? We're going to be here. We're going to be here. When you're ready to come, we're going to be here. And so as soon as we were able to get back in the office in July, we went right back to the office in July, and we never gave it up. I mean, we constantly did a very, very, I think, creative and smart marketing. We're going to be sensitive to how we market.
Right.
And, it really has worked for us. Since last April, every month we've seen improvement. Right now we're at about 70% occupancy in Hillsborough County.
Wow.
That's better than just about any other place, but against our old record, it's not good enough because we'd normally be in the 80s.
Right.
So we compete against ourselves, and we've never stopped doing that. We've always looked forward and said, we're going to be optimistic. We'll get through all this.
And be better, right?
And that's how you have to do it. I mean, you can't look in your rearview mirror. You have to look at the opportunities that are ahead.
Right. What I was going to say before, as I was leading the way to it, was trying to stay optimistic. But apparently, too, and I don't know lately, but some of the other parts of the country are still not doing that well. I mean,
No.
And that's worrisome. And I know, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, we were very fortunate, I think, from the state level down, that, we didn't go into complete shutdowns. I think there was some common sense to handling the pandemic.
Well,
and then locally, our elected officials were always about safety and health and safety.
keeping our small businesses alive.
And that helps us to market the
yes.
destination as a safe place to come. So, if your local elected officials are passing mask mandates and are making it possible for you to have dinner in restaurants by opening the street up and having social distancing and some of the things they did, that allows me
that made some national news as well.
Well, that allows me to talk about it, right? You can come to Tampa Tampa, and you can go out and dine. You can come to Tampa.
Yeah,
and you
our
can
leaders, our officials, they're looking for ways.
And so that was a tremendous help for us. And so I think, you can't blame other cities or other states. Everyone had to deal with this very unusual circumstance the best way they knew how. So, you can't blame anybody. Well, they did worse than us and we did better. Everybody handled it the way they thought they needed to handle it. And I think in some cases, some states did better by handling it a certain way.
You look at California, and you've got so many people in California, because they've been comparing California quite often to Florida and asking,
Right.
I even saw something where they were asking the governor, like, why aren't you like Florida? Like,
Right.
what's your take on that? Like,
Again, it's very, very difficult to question what anyone did based on how unusual this was. I mean, we've never really had a global pandemic that lasted this long and impacted everyone, right? So how you handle that, I think, some people thought, well, if we close off our state and we, take care of our people from the outside won't get us sick. Well, that didn't work, right? And what's worse than being sick is, and I said this at the beginning, I said, what was worse than being sick is being sick and broke. That's really a tough situation.
And with no way of providing for your family.
And so I think there had to be a balance. And I think some people balanced it a little bit better than other people. And, we were fortunate that we live in a state where we were able to have a little bit more balance. And, hey, we've had our spikes in the pandemic, but we're also vaccinating a lot of people right now. And so I think that's going to help. We're starting to see that consumer travel confidence starting to rise. I think we're going to have a busy summer as these vaccinations continue to roll out and people
feel a lot
feel
more
better.
Confident.
Yeah. You get your first shot, you're kind of confident.
Yeah.
You get your second one and you're like really confident. So I think, we're going to see, we've seen it in spring break, that there's been a little bit more excitement around travel, and I think we're going to start to see it, as we go into summer. Unfortunately, no, we're also dependent on some international visitation, and I don't know internationally when those borders are going to start to open up. We're hearing that some are opening up, but it's a global economy, and so when different parts of the world are experiencing some significant situations that are not positive, you start seeing an effect. And so I think that's hurt the world. Travel has hurt the world. When people can't get out there and get out of their homes and do what they're normally used to doing, it's a big impact.
Well, like our world has changed the way we knew it. I mean, and I think we're even in maybe in a some of the depressions or different things that have happened still may not have affected everyone, right? I mean, where this is everyone.
The whole
entire world.
The whole world. And it was so fast. I mean, so sudden. We were in February February last year. In a very different place than we were in April. And
I remember
just
watching
that quick.
the news on, what was it, Wuhan, however, like you're watching that in deserted streets, and this was probably December, January, thinking, wow, can you imagine? And
it's been, and it still has been very difficult. Although we're doing okay, we still have, a lot of our neighbors that are out of work and are trying to get back to work. In the hospitality industry, I can tell you, we have so many tentacles that we impact. Because when you draw a visitor to your city or to your county, they don't just hide in a hotel and pay the rate. They get out and eat. They go out and entertain. They take transportation. They do things. And so those tentacles are affected when no one's visiting and staying in hotels. And so you have an effect on restaurants. You have an effect on retail. And so often people think, hospitality, just hotels. No, that's not true. You have theme parks and attractions and museums and performing arts centers and aquariums and zoos. You have all of those things that are impacted by visitation. Rarely do we ever go visit another location and hide in a hotel room and watch pay-per-view for 3 days and go back home. You don't do that. You go out, you want to catch a festival, you want to go to where the locals eat, you want to check out a museum, an attraction, and that's all missing when you don't have people visiting.
It is crazy to think that the world just stopped. And thank God we are, a year and a year and a couple months. I mean, time, as you reflect back and us thinking March 6th-ish, when about, and then thinking it's April of 2020, I mean, I don't know, it just seems like it went fast. April
was the worst tourism month in the history of Hillsborough County, and our second best was in February. So you went from second best month ever to the worst month ever in a matter of a month and a
So
half.
February of 2020 was second
Best?
best?
Yes.
Oh
87.7%
my goodness.
occupancy in entire Hillsborough County, and then you go to April, 22% occupancy. You went from 87% to 22% in a matter of a month, in a little over a week. So, I mean, it was dramatic. And when you see that kind of drop, that means jobs. That means, the restaurant down the street isn't seeing that. All your sporting and live events shut down. We had events that were coming to town that were lost, and conventions. That was influx of money. So, yeah, it was really, really difficult. I mean, we Visit Tampa Bay, we lost a number of our great team members.
Well, your main income or revenue for the Visit Tampa Bay is through room tax, or some of it, right?
Most of it.
Yeah,
we do have a
partners,
partnership side
right.
and the private side. But yeah, no, a great amount of it is from that hotel occupancy tax where people pay when they stay in a hotel. Not any of us pay unless we stay in a hotel, right? Our locals don't pay into what we do. But yeah, see that disappear, because if you're going from, like I said, almost 88% occupancy to 22.
Wow. Yeah.
That's money that's gone.
And then all those jobs then that are lost.
Jobs.
And I was talking to a friend of mine, actually, a mom of my son's high school friend, anyway. And apparently her son had a job in the convention center doing some things. But he's, you just don't even think about it. And
you don't think about it.
Now he moved somewhere with another family member because there was where it was work for him.
Yeah, you don't think about it, and it's critically important. And then the hotels and the restaurants and they pay property taxes that come back to us in the form of services. They pay for our police, they pay for our parks and rec, they pay for our streets to be paved, and our visitors pay that sales tax that prevents us all from having an income tax. If you like living in Florida because there's no income tax, that's because tourists are a third of all the sales tax collected in the state of Florida. So if that third is missing, that's a lot of money that's not coming back into communities. So again, you look for the silver lining, and the silver lining, I think in this case, was you don't appreciate what you have until you don't have it. And I think there was a greater appreciation, right? We're talking about the easy lessons. That's an easy one to learn. Hey, tourism has a place in this economy, and when it's missing, we can feel it.
Overall, too, I think I always try to look at the good that we can take out of any situation. So when you do reflect back, there have been some ways things have changed, I think, for the better. I think we all have hopefully, we're reminded on what's important and what is true value and how much our employees mean. Just the everyday things that should be so just common sense.
The things you take for granted.
Exactly. That's what I was.
Things you take for granted.
For sure.
Yeah. And you realize that family is important, and spending time with people you care about is important, and there has to be a balance. But you also understand that there's a place for all things, and when some of those things are missing, you can really feel it.
Most definitely. And I just thank goodness my kids are older. I think your kids are older too.
They are.
My youngest is 20, but I cannot, just think through this year, and you have all the people working from home and then homeschooling the kids.
Oh my gosh.
I mean,
it has been an interesting
and then as
time.
an employer too, that must be difficult.
Yeah. Oh no, absolutely.
You know that they have to be home taking care of the kids, but
you have to be very flexible, and you have to be sensitive to individual circumstances. And I think the more we are about that, the better employees we're going to have, the better relationships we're going to have. And I can tell you, during normal times, you don't know what people deal with when they leave work, right? You just don't know. It's their personal lives, and you never know the burdens they carry when they leave work. And I think being sensitive, I think being sensitive to the different needs that are out there, especially when you may have a spouse that's out of work, or people are working on reduced salaries, or they're having to again balance homeschooling with work from home, and we had a hybrid situation, so we were work from home on some days, work in the office other days.
Because we're alternating.
Alternating teams because we wanted the office fully functional during the pandemic. And so, we had a Monday, Tuesday team, a Wednesday, Thursday team, and everyone home on Friday, working from home full time. But you had to be sensitive. And I think now as you come back, you still need to be sensitive and say, maybe, everyone doesn't need to be in the office 10 hours a day. If there's a way to balance that, I think that'd be a good thing.
And that's a little bit of what I'm talking about, where I think we've hopefully will take a little bit away. And granted, once life starts to resume and goes, I hope it's something we keep and continue and, we just learn from. And
I mean, when the pandemic was in full swing back in March, April, you wondered what Thanksgiving was going to look like. You wondered what Christmas was going to look like, the New Year. And we went through all of them, right? We went through Thanksgiving. We went through New Year's. We made it, and you have to be sensitive because some people didn't make it.
True.
So you have to keep that in mind as well. That it's been a time that has affected just about everyone in different ways, and you have to be sensitive because some people suffered.
What are the numbers at? Was
they're
it
getting
200,000 that we'd lost?
Oh no, the numbers still. The numbers are still high, not as high as they were. The number of deaths, has flattened a little bit. But, even if you're losing one or two people, it's one or two people too many. Right. So, you have to be extremely sensitive to that.
Even now with some of the vaccines and stuff going on, and we have been doing them for a while, and we just start, but, I think it was 91 people died the other day, and it's just, that's still 91 people.
Still 91 people.
It's not like.
And that universe that they affect, because it's 91.
Those hearts that are broken.
That's
and
right.
Those
That's
people
right.
that are now missing those loved ones. And it's. It's difficult, unfortunately. But okay, happy. We have about 6 minutes.
Yeah.
Happy thoughts. Okay, so I do feel so. I'm praying. We're praying for everyone that's lost anybody. It is so unfortunate, but
there's light. There's light at the end of the tunnel. There has been light at the end of the tunnel, and we need to continue to be positive and optimistic. I think the vaccinations and what we've learned will really help going forward.
I agree.
And, we need to get the economy back. We need to get people healthy again. And you know what? There's still some pieces missing from the puzzle, but I think they're going to fall back in place real soon. And we're very fortunate that, again, we've done better than other places, and we really have.
Yeah, you just think about, too, even this last year that we've gone through, we at least had the great weather and just opportunities to be outside where so many of these other places
you couldn't do it.
We have been very fortunate to be here.
You're
so we do pre-film, so this won't air for a while, but this is an exciting weekend for Tampa Bay. We have WWE coming in, and last year I think we were having probably this same conversation about this time last year, because a lot was changed, right?
Yeah, it was about to happen, and then the pandemic hit last year. So we were fortunate to be able to have it this year. I mean, WWE team, an incredible team. It's a spectacular event. I mean, a following that's international.
Was it you that told me even bigger than this, or it could be potentially bigger than the Super Bowl?
The Super Bowl, the NFL has their fans. The WWE has its own loyal fan base, and it's a huge fan base. I mean, I get to travel internationally, and I find wrestling on TV in other countries, and I find young people and even young adults wearing wrestling paraphernalia, T-shirts, and so it's an incredible industry. They're going to put on an incredible show. First time, it's 2 nights. And again, a lot of work by our locals. The Sports Commission, Rob Higgins deserves a lot of credit, and his team. But then again, we have some great locals that are going to be the hosts. And Titus O'Neil, what a great role model Titus is. He's so embedded in the community. Talk about people that really get involved and want to make the place a better place. Titus O'Neil and, of course, the legendary Hulk Hogan are hosting. And, it's phenomenal that it's finally here, because we have such an incredible and rich history with wrestling. The wrestlers that have come out of this area have been spectacular. And so to have that connection to wrestling and finally host the biggest wrestling show on the planet is fantastic. So again, looking forward to highlighting how we can do another big live event in a safe way, because we wanted to continue to do that and be a motivation and an inspiration for other destinations that it can be done.
Yeah. It is pretty exciting. I mean, and then even like we were talking about with our sports and just everything. everything
That's right.
because all that'll be ramping back up, I guess, again soon.
Well, we've had a lot with
hockey.
amateur athletics. You know, we have had a lot of amateur gymnastics and cheer competitions, and I think you're going to start to see a lot of that coming back. You know, we're having limited capacity at Lightning games, and you know, we have the Toronto Raptors that are playing here, and the Toronto Blue Jays that are playing in Dunedin. You know, two great Canadian teams that are making the Bay Area their home for this season. So lots of excitement, and you know, again, we want to get back to our best days because we compete against ourselves, and we know we can be better than our last best day.
Right.
So that's
Friendly
where we're headed.
competition, right? But
Well,
yeah,
it's amongst us, so we
Right.
want to be better than we were. We don't necessarily want to beat anybody else other than beat our last best
and
day.
I think that we should all strive, right, to be our best selves better
That's
every
right.
day,
That's right.
than we were. And we can't unless you measure. And
Back to
kind
what
of-
we started, right?
Right,
Where
right.
we started the conversation. You know, you grow and you get better and you learn from your mistakes, and hopefully the next time is much, much better.
Yeah, for sure, because I like to think that I try to learn from everything, that we go through, and what doesn't work, then you reapply and you make it work. And again, I'm thankful for some of the lessons learned through this past year or so. I am very thankful for the virtual meetings now. I was just at a meeting yesterday with USF, and I'm on with Dean Moez, but normally I would have driven to USF from downtown.
There's some benefit, right?
And I joked with I was talking about this earlier, but but I got to do a 40-minute meeting,
right.
On the Zoom, and all I had to do was put a bra on,
Well,
like
I wasn't going to go there because it's always from here up, right?
Well,
And
you never know. If I stood up, I was just afraid. I don't want to sit up. But somebody joked that they'd worn socks for the first time. I'm like, yeah, I actually put, but it's just those types. Now that is.
Now you have an option.
Yes.
An extra option to be able to do
it's
that.
time management, because then the rest of the day I had no time in the car.
That's right.
I'm able then to
That's
go
right.
right into another.
And it's amazing how much time we spend in the car. That's
True.
wasted time.
And though I was worried, because I am such a personable person, I was worried that wouldn't have the same effect. But for me, I think because I'm able to connect, I do feel, I can't wait to hug them,
Last one we did like this was
Yeah,
Zoom,
yeah.
and it was great.
I don't like
mean,
the show Zoom. That's different.
Yeah.
It's just not fun without you.
Well,
right?
that's true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But
it was okay for the time. I mean, we didn't have an option, right?
Right,
And,
right. We did
But
it
now
for
we
a
have an
while.
option to do it this way,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
if I'm not here and I'm some other part of the country and we need to do it, then we
Yes.
can do it.
No, yeah. I mean, just the idea. Well, and then being able to bring in anybody that
That's
I
right.
wanted.
Anywhere.
Yes, there are some great advantages. So again, a lot of good things. Take the good with the bad, but we'll pick apart or the good stuff. So we've got just about a minute left,
Yeah.
but. Thank you. Just
Oh my
for
gosh!
everything.
Thank you for all you do. I mean, I get to
that's-
share about an hour with you, but everything you do every day, again, to highlight the positive and the people that are making the difference. And I think collectively, everyone here is about that.
No,
and that's a good thing.
I feel that. Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Again, we're here because of support from businesses and organizations like Visit Tampa Bay. So, just all of your articles are on our resource library. So if you check out edgemediahub.com, you can go to the resource library, and everything written by Santiago over the last couple of years
Yeah.
is there for you. So, thank you so much
Thank
again.
you.
Thank you so much for being with us today. I always say, I know you could be a million other places. So. Thank you for taking the time to be here and get the edge with us. Join us every week with just amazing stories and talks about trials and tribulations and ways to achieve your dreams. So until next time, never stop dreaming. We'll see you again soon. Thank you.